to everyone watching us today. We are live from UCSI University. Welcome to our live talk show, Green Talks. Today, I will be your host. My name is JC. Now, have you ever thought about all those forgotten old items at home that you could actually transform into unique homemade crafts? Well, today, we will be diving into the world of upcycling and discovering how waste materials can be given a brand new life. Now, in today's show, we will take a look at the life of a person who does upcycling art for a hobby and how it can actually help the environment immensely. We will also challenge ourselves today to be making some arts and crafts with objects at home, everyday objects that we can find at home. And then after that, we'll take a look at how upcycling art and climate change can actually severely impact our mental health. Now, if you're ready, strap in, kick back, and relax, because we are going to be taking a look at today's eco-friendly creative journey.
Where all the waste we throw away actually goes? Every year, the world generates over 2 billion tons of waste. Much of it ends up in landfills or is incinerated, causing several environmental pollution. Landfills take up vast amounts of space and release toxic gases. Burning waste produces harmful smoke that worsens air pollution. Plastic waste that isn't properly disposed of often drifts into ocean, endangering marine life. It can also seep into the soil, disrupting ecosystems. But what if we looked at the waste from a different perspective? What if these discarded items weren't just trash, but hidden treasures waiting to be rediscovered? In our daily life, many items we throw away can actually be repurposed through DIY projects. Old clothes don't have to be tossed. They can be cut and sewn into eco-friendly shopping bags. They can also become tablecloth or even pet bed. A broken wooden crate can be turned into a bookshelf. An old tire can be transformed into a flower pot. Glass bottles can be made into decorative lanterns. With a little creativity and effort, we can give these items a new life. Upcycling isn't just an environmentally friendly practice. It's a mindset. It encourages us to be more innovative and resourceful while reducing waste. Instead of constantly buying new things, we learn to appreciate what we already have. We find ways to reinvent them. You might be wondering, can one person really make a difference?
The answer is yes. Every small action, when multiplied by millions of people, can create a massive impact. If each of us starts by repurposing just one item, we can collectively reduce the amount of waste polluting our planet.
So today, take a look around your home. Find something old, something broken, and give it a second life. Let your creativity be a force for sustainability. Are you ready to turn waste into treasure?
Now, today here in the studio with us, we have our special guest, Oliver, who's gonna be talking to us about her special hobby. Now, could you please introduce yourself with the camera, Oliver?
Hello, my name is Oliver. I like to do arts and crafts, and that's about it. I'm turning 19 this year, and for about 5 years of my life, I've been dedicating myself to doing these types of crafts, and I find a lot of enjoyment out of it. Alright, that's it for me.
That's really, I mean, it's kind of self-explanatory almost because you really do, as I see, like create so many wonderful things in your spare time. So, okay, if you're ready, we can get started with the interview so far, okay?
Alright, I'm ready whenever you are.
Okay, right. So the first question for you is that, to our understanding, you do arts and crafts, like you said.
Yes.
And you do that using an upcycling technique. So here's my question to you. Could you tell us, like take us through it? How do you do this? What is your process?
Well, at the beginning of any process, whenever you want to make something, this should be more of a general rule. Whenever you want to make something, you need to know its purpose. What do I want it to do? What do I want it to be? What do I want it to look like?
Its functions.
Its functions, yeah, exactly. After that, it would be to the next stage where sketching happens, and I like to get a pen and paper,
Right.
start drawing.
That's where you
any
do
designs.
your planning.
Yes. For like specific diagrams, that doesn't come in later, only when I have, okay, this is exactly what I want, I'm satisfied with this design. Only when that happens will I get into the more mathematical aspect of it.
Do you do the planning before or after you have the materials that you are upcycling with, or do you let that be something you improvise with after you've had a draft?
Well, that's an interesting question, you see, because sometimes
Right.
it's dependent. For example, I have some leftover scraps from this one project,
Right.
then I would start with the materials first. Think, okay, this piece of paper is flimsy, what can I do with this? Or like, how can I reinforce this to make it something better? But it's also the opposite when I have a specific goal in mind.
Right.
When the goal comes first, I would look at its needs
Right.
and then choose materials based on that.
Okay. So it's kind of like a mix and match.
Exactly.
Honestly, like you said, it's dependent.
Yeah.
Do you have any examples of like it being maybe difficult if you incorporate it like before or after the planning stage when it comes to upcycling?
I don't think it would be
Difficult,
much.
not for you.
I don't think it'd be different. Not to like blow up my ego or anything.
Not for you.
But I don't think the sequence changes the process that much. Like either it's planning first or designing. Sometimes you could just take some leftover clay and start making it into a shape, then get an idea from that too.
Oh, so sometimes the planning doesn't need to happen. You
Yeah.
just get the product that you want to make from. You just improvise.
I just
you get
improvise sometimes.
inspired.
It's either
almost.
improvised or
Right.
you could take a more logical approach, a more careful approach.
Right.
Like, it really depends on the person involved, actually.
So it showcases your personality, and
Yeah.
that's telling me that you're not really a planner.
That's one way to say
You're
it,
not
I
really
guess.
a planner, are you? So you just improvise. You go with the flow.
I go with the flow most of the time, yes.
Okay, well, going with the flow right now, let's jump over to our second question, okay?
Alright.
Now, for the second question, why avoid buying material and upcycle instead?
Well, I think this is because of a reason for myself, at least. It's because whenever I make some projects, I'd like to. I get a bunch of scraps afterwards, and whenever I look at these scraps, I always think, hey, I can make something with that. So why should I just leave the scraps lying there? Exactly. So that would be why I would choose to upcycle these objects anyway.
So it's like you sort of like have a way to save these materials from becoming something that's wasted after like previous projects.
Exactly. Nobody likes a pile of trash they can do
Yeah.
nothing with.
Like for me, I would just throw it away. I'm the kind of person who prioritizes keeping my desk clean instead. So if I see the trash, I don't really, because I'm not a very creative person, so I wouldn't really do that. But speaking of creativity, we will be going back to how you interact with the topic of upcycling later, and let's take a short like 15-second break so that we can get a breather while we come back to this conversation. So we're gonna come back shortly in just a bit. All right, joining back here with us again today, we have Oliver, who's gonna be telling us all about their hobby of upcycling using arts and crafts. Now, we were just talking about the subject of upcycling. So with upcycling, I'm curious. You told me about avoiding to buy materials. I personally, when I start a project, I start working with the things that I already have at home as a way to save materials, to save my money as well. But when it comes to buying project materials and when it comes to upcycling using materials from previous projects, how do you know that a previous material from a previous project, or like leftovers and scraps, how do you know that it's actually going to be useful for you? Or do you just hoard at home? You keep everything?
I think it's a little bit of both, because sometimes it'd be something that you can't really change, like how strong it is.
Right.
But like for things like paper, it's flexible. You can add layers to it. You can put stuff in between them, make pockets. A lot of things you can use paper to do, but with thicker things, like maybe wood scraps, you can't really do much with it by
like,
itself.
You try something really creative and you just like make a wood scrap sculpture.
It would take a lot of glue.
It depends on your skill too. Which does it actually? Do you actually like think about the skills that would be taken to upcycle the trash?
Oh,
when you do that?
I think yes, because
so you have no skill issues.
Again, not to blow up my ego, but I'd say whenever I come into an issue like how flimsy a piece of paper is, I would go through the process and options of what I have to be able to strengthen this piece of paper. So example, gluing two pieces of paper together, maybe weaving them together.
Right. You weave the papers together to expand it.
Yeah.
Oh, that is a very interesting take about like how you can upcycle these materials. You're involving not just one material, you're involving multiple to amplify it.
Exactly.
That is very interesting. Okay. Now, speaking of things that are interesting, let's go on to the next question, which will be our third question. What are some benefits of doing arts and crafts your way, which is the upcycling way?
Benefits, I'd say the first benefit is not having that pile of trash that you've hoarded in the corner of your room. But I think the second most prominent benefit of this is just being able to look at something and say, I made that. I turned that from something useless to something useful. Exactly. And you get that little feeling of pride in yourself every time.
Explains why you're not blowing up your ego right now. So it's the whole idea of it being more difficult to implement when you are limited in what you're working with, because now you're not just limited to anything your money can buy, you're limited to what you already have at hand, that's already been through a process, that's already been damaged, or that's already been used in a certain point.
Exactly. And like I find a special kind of joy in just finding ways to improve something in general too. So it's not just me being proud that I made something, it's me being proud that I improved something.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, speaking of things that we're proud of, it's something that's very close to my heart right now, which is the topic of climate change and sustainability. So let me ask you this question, because I have this concern about why it is important to upcycle in art, and how is it better than regular art? You mentioned it adds value, but would this method of upcycling with previous scraps deteriorate art in any way?
I don't think it would deteriorate art, but like art is subjective, so it does depend on the people you ask. But to me, I don't think upcycling would deteriorate any of its value. To me, I think since it's upcycling, you're adding function to something that fundamentally didn't have it initially. So I think it's more of an improvement, actually. Overall, I think it would be just better for the environment too, that we're adding value to things that we were going to initially discard. It's going to end up in a landfill anyway. Why not add use to it? Why not just save some money, you know?
That is a very true statement. Now, speaking of saving some money, which I need to do a lot, it's also a concern of mine whether or not it'll be harder to upcycle art in any way. It's sort of, do you think that upcycling should be mandated in the sense to upcycle art or save materials?
What do you mean by
It's
that?
like, do you think it would be better if everyone just started upcycling art instead of going to buying materials?
I think it would definitely do the world some good to not have everybody
Definitely.
buying new things and like just throwing away anything that's just a little bit useless in some
true.
aspect. Like, for example, you have something that's broken, you could take that, fix that, and then bring it new life and not just throw it away and get a new one. There's still going to be that part that you threw away that's still going to end up somewhere, that's still going to have some sort of butterfly effect.
Yes, that is very true. Now, speaking of butterfly effects, that is a big thing to digest. So, let us take a really quick break, another 15-second break, so that we can catch our breaths, have a breather, and then come right back in. So, this is going to be our break. We'll be right with you. Now, joining back here with us, Oliver, again.
Hi.
Hello. Okay, we were just talking about your hobby in upcycling arts and crafts. So, I have a question for you, a very interesting one, which is something that people can interact with at home as well. What are some ways that people can upcycle? What should they look out for, and what should they prepare? Because I imagine there's a lot of tools needed for this.
Ways to upcycle.
Right.
I would say that it would link back to the second question,
Right.
actually, where you find a purpose you want to fulfill, a use, something you want to make, something you want to turn into reality, and then you. For me, I would have this little trash drawer full of
Okay.
all the leftover bits and pieces. I would go through that and find the things that I would need and stuff like that. But I think sometimes if you just open that trash drawer and
Right.
just take a look at what you have, then try to see, what can I do with this? Try to ask yourself that. I think that would be a great start to how people can upcycle.
Right, with the idea part.
Yeah, with the idea. But with the more technical side, with tools and things, I think that you don't really need a lot of tools. Most of the time, all you need is just some glue and clever placements.
Glue and clever placements. That really challenges as well your own creative thinking.
Exactly.
Which is why you said earlier in our earlier segment that upcycling actually adds value to art because you're working with limited materials. So something that's very interesting to me in that question that explores as well is what people can look out for in terms of the things that they can use to upcycle. Like you said, you personally find them from old discarded projects that people like have asked you to do, and then from those projects there are scraps, there are things that are left over, but then you save them in your trash drawer and then you explore them again later. And I've seen before online that there are videos of like plastic bottles being like stripped down into strips and that being something to be upcycled from. Now, when it comes to those things, when I think of upcycling especially, that comes to mind, which is, oh, look out for plastic bottles that you find lying around the house. Is there any other examples of those kind of things, like scrap paper or...
I think like just any other examples of common materials to use when trying to upcycle something. The more fundamental things are just paper and plastic, and I think cardboard boxes would be very nice too because they already have little
Grooves?
grooves.
The pattern.
The grooves too, and also some structural integrity, which would come very useful in making scrap projects.
Especially when you're building anything 3D.
Exactly.
All right, now on to our next question about upcycling. Are there any materials people should prepare? I imagine like knives or like cutters or like scissors, about what they can use to prepare their materials into things that they can actually use in their upcycling projects.
Well, this I think scissors is definitely one of them.
Yep,
It saved me
definitely.
so much time on multiple occasions. But with parental supervisions, a small knife would also be very useful in case it's hard to cut. For example, cardboard. Um, Other materials that could be incredibly useful, I'd say some sort of glue. Like water-soluble glue would be very nice.
Which one do you recommend though? Like glue sticks or like water glue?
I'd say water glue because glue sticks can't really apply when you're doing 3D projects. You really need to get it onto a smooth surface if you want to use it. But with liquid glue, as long as the thing you're using it with is absorbent, it would be extremely effective.
All right, I see now we're coming up to one of our more crucial questions here, which is how can people start upcycling at home and turn their trash into art? Any ideas for projects they can start at home?
Projects to start at home. I've been thinking about this actually. Recently, I have come across this idea of making some sort of money bank where you could keep coins in. You can even weave it from plastic bottle strips, from paper, old magazines, newspaper. You can use a lot of materials for that project in particular.
Right, because it's flexible. It's just a container.
It's just a container, and I think a more beginner-friendly one would be just a little pencil stand holder.
I see. So that's very important for us to know so that people at home who are watching our broadcast can actually know what are some examples of projects that they can take a crack at later. Speaking of taking a crack at later, we do have a segment coming up, but before that, I'm going to pass the mic on to you because this is the time for you to do your personal promos. Where can people find you? What can they do with you? Collabs, check you out. Where can people find you? You have 1 minute to 30 seconds. We're quite flexible with that. And are you ready?
I'm ready.
And go.
You can find me on Instagram doing digital art at Sleepy Mop Micah. That's one word, Sleepy Mop Micah, SleepyMopMicah. Now, that's where I do all my digital art stuff. So if you want to see all my upcycling, look out for my Instagram stories.
All right. Thank you for that interview today. And I hope that I can follow you on Instagram to keep stalking your art because you do make cool things.
Thank you.
We're going to come right back to the studio segment really quick. But before that, we're going to check out our friends who are taking a crack at some arts and craft projects themselves. Take a look.
Hello everyone, welcome to Green Talk Radio. So as you can see here, we have still DIY handicrafted. So this one is made by magazine, and also this one can as well can put out the stationery inside. So it's very good. In the box here, and so we have a big one. Yeah, this one we can put like umbrella inside and put outside our room. This one also made by magazine. So this one, but this one we color inside. So this one is just original one. And also we have this one for here. Use and we use the clay to make it up. So this one is for the plastic. So we can put like this inside. Yeah, and cover it. Correct. So that's all our handicraft here. So today I'm here to guide you through a 1 year project. Making an eco-friendly jewelry box. It's both stylish and sustainable. Using simple materials and fine and form. If you love DIY, don't miss this. Now I will pass on the next Crystal. Okay, so this is a sample of the jewelry box we will make today. We have a place to hang our bracelet, place to put our earrings. Okay, so now you need to prepare the mask. Better not use that. And this one, ruler, glue, scissors, and a normal tea straw. This one is a sticker, and this one is the cover of the box. And this one is the paper box unwanted. Okay, so first, you need to make it into two. Like this, and you can use the unwanted paper box and cut the size of the cover. Then you twist or you can use the glue to stick it. Okay, so inside. Make it more beautiful, you can use the sticker to measure the size, and you can stick over here like this. Okay? So now we will do the part of the hanging part. So this one, you can measure the size of the box. Then you stick it with the sticker like this one. Then after that, you use the pen to make it simple. So from here, make it 7 fold. Okay, so now you do the hanger. So for the hanger, using the mask over here, we have the string over this part. Okay, so you can cut it into half and make it into two parts like this one. So first, make it into this one. Okay. Then you fold the string like this. Make it like this. Then you put to make it more stable. Behind this, you can make it like this. Okay, so you can make it good. Then hold it up. So when you're making this one, you definitely want to put your hand. This one is quite sharp. Okay. Okay, once you're done, you have to do like this, and this is the front. So now you can cut the string of the mask. And so this one is to make the bracelet and be more stable inside your box. So once you're done, you can glue it. Okay. So this one will look like this. And now I will do the part of the cover here. So you can measure the size and you can cut off from the cardboard. Then use the sticker. Let it look more beautiful. So we can cut off the extra part. Okay, so now we will do the part below here. So you can cut few pieces of the cardboard and you can measure the size. Then you can DIY your own part. You can make the thing over here or you can make it this way. Okay, so we can use the straw and measure the size first. So we put it 3. So now we will do the ring part. You can use the straw, the buttermilk tea, and you cut it into 3 parts. So to make it more nicer, you can use the mask now. Cut off the mask. And use the white color part. Okay, and cover the straw. Okay, so we can put it like this. Okay. Now what we will do the part is to make it stable. So same, we use the here. Then you can measure how you want it to be open. You can like this, like this. or you can make it up. So you need to wait until it dry up. So this one haven't dry. Okay, so once it dry, so you can put your in. Here it is. This one you put here, and you can take some. This here. Hang it here, and use the string to make it stable. Okay. So it won't fall when you cover it. Okay, now I toss it back to our house. Right, I hope this job was ready for you. So see you next time. I'll pass it back to the Bye.
Now, for this upcoming next segment, we are going to be taking a look at our second guest. Who's going to be from WIP Healing, and we're going to get to know about them a little bit more as we pre-recorded this interview ahead of time. So let's get ready to take a look at our second interview.
Yeah, my name is Kay. I'm a founder of My WIP Healing. My WIP Healing is a community platform that focusing on mental health and well-being through creative expression, which is art therapy. So we have been doing these things over the past 4 years. We started with like social media campaign through the importance of taking care of our well-being, our mental health awareness education, through by doing art activities together. So we just not talking about the awareness, but we also create a social connection through the creative activities such as art therapy workshop, gathering art workshop gathering, nature gathering. So all these things is part of what we call it social connectedness through the mental health support. I think you have been to our event. You
Yes, I
know
have.
how it feels like everyone like
Yeah. It's like
uh,
you're all in one big community together. Like everyone is like different. They have their different
yeah.
expression, their different like style of making the art lah, or like their own like mind, the way they think and all that. But then you see that how you all use the same winning material and you all make something so different.
Yes, that's the beauty of it, and that's why in term of expression, it shouldn't be limitation in term of like
Mm,
using art as a creative expression,
mm,
especially like
mm.
people think like, oh, art is only painting,
Yeah.
doing all these things, but art it could be in different kind of form. So if you go to our event last time, you can see like we do have a different kind of channel through visual painting, visual art, and
Mm.
also they do like theater expression, movement, dancing, and singing. So those are the things actually we for people who are not in a art background, they were like, oh, I'm not creative. I'm not
Right.
creative person. I cannot do that. but actually, but actually, when we doing it in the safe space, doing it in
Mm.
a experimental based space, you
Mm.
could see how thrive and authentic the art is, and
Right.
that was that's how I see art and crafts really helpful for people who struggle with mental health, which is you can see all these diverse art
Mm.
emotions, feelings. You don't even need to understand
Right.
what does the art try to tell you. You just feel it, right?
Right.
So yeah, I think that's how
Mm.
as platform we accommodate to the community.
Mm-mm. You guys really provide like that sort of like supportive, like you said, safe space. Like, because anyone can create anything that is like true to them, authentic to them, and their own expression in their mental health. And that really begs the question though. So when it comes to making art, right, like you said, that art can come from like many different formats. It can come from performance, it can come from dance, it can come from like making arts and crafts, or even something as traditional as painting. So what is so special though about like creating art that is so important to a person's mental health?
Mm, Basically, this self-expression is important for people who
Mm,
struggle with mental health. Is where we, as a human, we go by life daily
mm,
through many emotions, and throughout the day of life, we sometimes, not for sometimes, most of the time, we don't know how to manage the emotion, how to
mm,
configure or how to process the emotions. So most of the time, most of the people, we suppress our emotions, right?
mm,
When we stress about something, yes, stress is just the general part, but underlying of the stress, it might be you feel sad, disappointment, you feel uneasy, you feel disgust. All these things have different role of ways of the emotion
mm,
try to um, navigate our life. I would say
mm.
because people think like, oh, emotion is something that something like, okay, you only have to validate like happy, only good emotion only.
The easy ones.
Yeah, yes, the comfortable emotion only. The
Mm,
uncomfortable emotion, we don't need to think about it. Don't even, So yeah, arts have the components to help us to express those uneasy emotions,
mm,
uncomfortable emotion in a in a one page, in a one,
mm-hmm.
in a you just welcome the emotion. So basically,
All right. Now that was our segment for our second guest, Kay from WIP Healing. In our next segment with Kay again, we're gonna explore a little bit more about the examples of events that you can find at WIP Healing. So, take a seat, get ready, and have a look. Here we go.
our event that I would say like yearly, the things that we do, the big one is the Art of Healings
Mm,
festival, which is include of different type of art expression, including visual arts, performance arts, which is music, and also dance and theatre. So throughout the years, when we do art therapy workshops, um, we see the progress of how the people who are joining our workshops and making it into a collective presentable like exhibition. You see, so those process, how we say like
mm,
art therapy module is yes, we have the psychology education when we start the art workshop, and then it's considered like macam apa kalau clinician punya base is like pre test,
mm,
post test, and everything like that lah. So art of healing is basically the hasil, the post test punya collective artwork that we have done and worked through the community punya activities where we compile all these different type of art
mm,
module and also art activities that we do with them, and we compile it into one whole big event and let the public come in and join and see how they can empower them through those,
mm.
you see, because when we talk about mental health, it's
Right.
I mean, yes, it's there's a lot of awareness have been going around, but the stigma is still there.
Yep.
When especially at the age of social media,
Mm.
there's a lot like if you have this, you are this, you all this.
Yeah, there's a lot of the generalization, the stereotype
Yes,
there.
yes.
Mm-hmm.
Even though like yes, I understand the idea is to bring
Mm.
up awareness, but what are we doing with the awareness if we're
Right.
not using the awareness into implementation and using the implementation to help them to solve it, like become a better society whereby
Mm.
show it like, okay, I know you said, I know you things have been rough and everything. How can we support you? How can what are the things that we can help you to feel better or like not feel better but become a better person? You see,
Mm.
uh, be just doing the art of healing even showing the 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 mental
Mm.
health peers
Mm-hmm.
talent help them to feel validated, to help them to
Right.
feel that they are matters in this life and they have something to inspire to others. And when public comes and see all these things, they're like, oh, they have the different kind of realization about like
Mm.
what those people are struggling is not just like one part of it, but
Mm-hmm.
two different kind of part of life. So
Mm. It approaches the whole aspect of mental health and the expression that someone feels like through their emotions and mental health in
yeah,
a supportive light. So that's the essential aspect there from these events. And speaking of these events as well, I understand that you guys do a lot of arts and crafts, a lot of materials are used, a lot of creative artworks are produced. Do you have any examples of using or like upcycling items in your events? I remember seeing one time during your exhibitions, especially the one in Museum Telecom in the gallery upstairs. I saw there was these like string like yarn based
yeah,
artworks that was so beautiful. Like
yeah.
so you have those kind of things. Any other examples that you have of like artworks being like upcycled from materials?
At the event that you see is basically one
Mm,
of our art therapy community intervention module that is like have a specific theme or related with psychology education. So the material that we use is basically like not per se like whole upcycle, but have the element of
mm,
upcycle. For example, like um, let's say for the workshop name is like puppet of emotions or scribble your understand your intrusive intertwined thoughts. So those are the yarn of the things that actually
mm,
using the audience or the participant own personal things that they want to include in
mm,
the expression. So maybe they have like all things that they are attached to. So they want to
mm.
put it into that process of art expressions. And yeah, I think how to say like upcycle
There's the element there though,
the
right?
element of
Mm,
people does have an impact of the element in
mm.
expressions, especially when you have like all belonging, like all shared,
Yeah.
all all these receipts things. You see, like you don't know what to do. Instead of just
Mm,
throwing it or like just keeping it messy, you can use it to like express yourself. Yeah, and we also do have like upcycle art therapy program where we use like all plastic whatever that they have and make
mm-hmm,
it into like there's a theme like from trash to treasure.
mm,
So that's just like one of the topic of angle that we put in as like how can you like sometimes when we don't feel good we feel like trash, you see.
mm-hmm,
So how does we reframe that into making something like trash, making into treasure, like how we reinvent ourselves as well. So those elements and also approach really, I would say, really helpful to
mm.
for even for me as well as a water. Like sometimes we don't feel good. We feel like, oh, plastic, just throw it away. Like
Yeah.
then we also like value ourselves. Like, oh,
Right.
this again, burn. Like you see, uh, this is where like the activity itself help us to ground
Mm.
ourselves, help
Right.
us to reflect back the things that we think trash is actually the experience that we go through, like until the point that before like plastic of bread or whatever become a plastic of trash,
Mm-hmm.
you are using it to wrap your food, you are
Right.
using it to wrap your belonging that is you are using it and you
Mm.
value it. So when things just change and it's already utilized or whatever, you
Mm-hmm.
feel like, oh no, it's no more anymore, like. So
Right.
yeah, it's always good to reflect and
Mm.
how to make it like art cycle is part of the healing process, as
Yes.
we could correlate with that process.
Yeah. It's really something to empathize with, the concept of upcycling, like breathing in new life into items that have been used before. Like it really gives them value. And that helps ourselves to feel better as well, like you said. And I really admire that concept. It's really creative because oftentimes personally, when I think about upcycling, it's always about, okay, how can I use this efficiently? Okay, I don't want to like waste anything. But I never personally ever approached it from the angle of like, oh, I can make myself feel better because like sometimes you feel like garbage, but yeah, like you said, trash to treasure. It's just different angles of using it, different values, different
Yeah.
ways of utilizing those items.
So there's a lot of different kind of angle how climate change affect our mental health, especially in terms of the environment. So per se, like you see, like right now, the air that we breathe have a lot of pollutions.
Mm.
Humans, when we go through transitions, we will get sick if we keep breathing the low quality of or like bad quality of air, right? So definitely it's gonna affect how we our brain thinking.
Mm. The
All
physical
science is
aspect, yes.
all connected. So from
Mm.
the air we breathe, from the thing we consume like water, uh,
Mm.
what else? Like yeah, don't talk about like nature. So
Mm.
when we don't have enough nature, what happened to our um,
Mental health,
well-being in
yeah.
terms of like we ground ourselves.
Mm.
So you can see like the differences of people who living in the city have less nature and less ways to
Mm.
self-regulate themselves or grounding themselves to the people.
Right. Now let us take a look at some more insights from our dear interviewee. Reminder, this is Kay from My WIP Healing. Let's take a look at some more insights from our dear interviewee.
So there's a lot of different kind of angle how climate change affect our mental health, especially in terms of the environment. So per se, like you see, like right now, the air that we breathe have a lot of pollutions.
Mm.
Humans, when we go through transitions, we will get sick if we keep breathing the low quality of or like bad quality of air, right? So definitely it's gonna affect how we our brain thinking.
Mm. The
All
physical
science is
aspect, yes.
all connected. So from
Mm.
the air we breathe, from the thing we consume like water, uh,
Mm.
what else? Like yeah, don't talk about like nature. So
Mm.
when we don't have enough nature, what happened to our um,
Mental health,
well-being in
yeah.
terms of like we ground ourselves.
Mm.
So you can see like the differences of people who living in the city have less nature and less ways to
Mm.
self-regulate themselves or grounding themselves to the people who have have more nature in the area where they can go out, breathe this fresh air, good quality drinks, or even food per se, like
Mm.
um, food that they can just eat from their punya
Mm.
ternakan, right? So
Mm.
we now, whoever that living in city, we are living in a fast pace, so
Right.
everything fast, even our food is fast.
Right.
Right. So yeah, definitely everything that fast also have taking tools in terms of uh,
Mm-mm.
our well-being as well.
Right.
So neurological gonna be affected definitely. So I
Mm-hmm.
would say, like, for example, like the direct trauma from
Right.
extreme weather. So you can see, like, for the
Mm.
past years we have been there's a lot of
Mm-mm.
area that have
Floods, hurricanes, the rains, all that.
Yes, yes. And those experience cause people post-traumatic stress disorder.
Mm.
There are people who every time got rain or non-stop raining, they will get super anxious and depressed about it.
Mm.
See? So that is one part of the direct trauma. And then second will be increased stress of gradual change in terms like rising temperature.
Mm.
So we feel like, Malaysia so panas. Now more rising temperature. Panas, like the hot of temperature, even
Mm.
you can feel it into your brain. You can like feel
Mm.
it. You can feel like, oh, you feel so weak. You feel like so brain fog. You can't focus anymore.
Mm.
So yeah, those also like can increase how like like human behavior. I would say,
Right.
like, you can see when like super hot area, you can see a lot of like apa ni dekat jalan raya tu, people
Mm-mm.
fighting with each other.
Right. Because they get the aggression, they feel
Yeah,
heated.
aggression.
Ah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, it's
Mm-mm.
really important actually to really take care of our environment. Not only take care
Mm.
of our mental health and well-being, but also the environment is something that we should
Right.
have work closely
Mm.
together as well.
Because the environment takes care of us.
Yes, because
Yes.
we are part of nature. We are
Yeah,
nature.
we are part of nature, so we should,
Yes,
it's
yeah,
macam mutual lah. We have to take care of it so that we can be
yes,
taken care of as well.
yes, yes, correct.
Mm. But speaking of like the little ways that we can contribute to fighting climate change, to fighting global warming, to the sustainability efforts, do you have any like ideas you can share with us about how everyday people in our everyday lives can start doing these arts and crafts at home, not only to boost their own mental health, but also like to maybe to upcycle or any ways that they can be sustainable while making art? In order to not only push forward for their own mental health, but also for sustainability.
Sustainability. So I would say start with little things such as awareness and education,
Mm.
because when we talk about climate change, a lot of people don't really understand the root cause of how it goes. People, when we talk
Mm.
about climate change or straw, use plastic, they cannot use plastic, cannot,
Right.
use plastic at all. I think those things have to be should be reframed in a different kind of way. Like, yes, you can use plastic, but how can you use it wisely? Yes,
Mm.
like for now, right? Like everyone is using aircon, especially when
When it's hot.
partners, yeah, hot, of course, right? If not, we will be like super angry or whatever. We are not
Yeah,
using
true.
other stuff. Raise awareness and education within ourselves. Like,
Mm.
what are the little change that you can use? Like, for example, you can start practicing, like, using plastic when you just go to grocery, and then
Mm-hmm.
using it back to like making it into different things. They can use it in a different way. Like, okay, I'm gonna use this plastic to put another container that I don't have to buy another container just to put one thing. You see?
Mm. It doesn't
So
necessarily have to be art. It just has to
yeah,
be like upcycling to make yourself feel better and mentally feel better as well.
yeah. Consume less, lah, I would say. Consume less
Mm-mm.
things, right, that are making our climate change more vulnerable right now.
Yeah, that's wonderful stuff. Now we're nearing the end of the interview here, so in the final segment, there's really exciting stuff comes to play, where you get to promote anything from any events that's coming up, where people can find you, where people can find WIP Healing, what they can do with you, anything you want to promote, you get this segment, and you get 30 seconds to 1 minute-ish. I'll make sure you get enough time. I'm not gonna stop you.
Okay, cool.
All
So
right.
yeah,
Ready?
yeah,
Okay.
okay. Now?
Whenever you're ready. You ready? Mm-hmm. All right, and that does it for our interview with Kay. So as we've learned today, DIY upcycling is more than just a hobby. It is a way of showing our responsibility toward the environment and our passion for life. It can also be a way to lessen the waste that we create in everyday life. Every item we repurpose means less waste in the world, less pollution, and more creativity unleashed from our souls. In today's fast-paced world, we are constantly consuming products and discarding waste. But, through the show, we hope to inspire you to rethink how you treat the materials around you, from anything as simple or as complex as you can think. How to give them new meaning while protecting the planet. The environmental protection aspect isn't just one person's responsibility. It is a whole collective effort. From a single simple DIY project to global ecological improvements, every single action we take can make a significant difference. So, starting today, let's get our hands on and bring life to new items, to old items, and turn them new. Let's all do our part for the planet. A huge, huge thank you for both of our guests for this episode, for their immense insights, and to our hardworking staff working behind the scenes to create that little arts and crafts project that I hope you take away at home too. And of course, to our amazing viewers for taking the time to tune in today. Now, if you enjoyed today's show, do not forget to like, subscribe, hit that follow, and share it with your friends. Now, tune in again next week with us to find out more about ways to be green. And on our next episode, we'll be taking a look in how we can specifically go green with our FMB. So, this is me, JC, saying tune in next time, see you next week, and this has been Green Talks. Thank you.